David, overall, just how satisfied are you with what you've been able to do to kind of remake this bullpen on the fly here?
I think overall we're looking to add to the team in a variety of different ways, add some quality arms to the pen. After Senga's injury, try to fortify our rotation a little bit, and then add a lefty bat. And so to be able to come away and doing that, it's good, and we're happy we were able to do it.
You mentioned the Senga injury. Did your focus shift significantly after that day and make acquiring a starting pitcher that could, pitch in that rotation a necessity?
Yeah, I think you're never going to replace a pitcher like Senga at the deadline, and so I think we just tried to figure out how best to fortify our team around it, and it meant both in the rotation and the bullpen to ensure that we had enough arms and some flexibility in various roles to put us in the best position for the next 2 months and hopefully beyond.
Will?
Hey, David, given the season that you guys are having and the situation that I guess we seemingly saw with the trade deadline being there was like a lack of sellers in the market, why didn't you guys part with more from like the top of your farm system, maybe to land somebody of maybe high impact that was out there?
Yeah, I think that's always the balance, right? Is trying to figure out what the right segment of your system to include in any particular deal. And in this situation, given the players that were available, given the prices on certain players, we felt like this was the right course to take, and that the transactions that we were able to execute were the right ones to do.
Mike?
David, how would you characterize the prices on some of those high-end arms?
Look, I think there was some pretty aggressive pricing this year, but that's to be expected, and we certainly anticipated that going into this thing. We have a situation, we've got a lot of teams that we're trying to add, and teams for various reasons that we're reluctant to sell. And so that's a pretty clear dynamic that was going to yield the type of deadline that we had.
And what do you like about Blackburn?
I think this is an incredibly consistent pitcher who fills the strike zone, has kind of a kitchen sink approach to what he does, and we think he's going to fit into our rotation quite nicely.
Tony?
To that end, do you anticipate Blackburn becoming part of a six-man rotation right now, or are you going to put him in a five-man, or what's your plan there?
We're still working through that, and we'll probably talk through that over the next couple of days to have a definitive plan of what this is going to look like.
And just to follow up on Will's question, did you have any sort of substantive conversations regarding some of those top flight arms that were out there?
I think as a matter of course, we investigate everything, and so we certainly had conversations all over the spectrum, all over position groupings, and we're able to get over the line on these deals.
And sorry, just last one from me. You acquired 4 relievers leading up to the deadline. To what extent is your bullpen philosophy just quantity, knowing that how fungible relievers can be over time? Yeah,
it's probably quantity and quality. If we're doing this right, I think bullpen performance is really volatile. And bullpens evolve over the course of the year, and the needs out of your pen evolve over the course of the year, and we've tried to be responsive to the needs of our pen.
Steve?
After acquiring Blackburn, do you guys view Budo as specifically or strictly a reliever moving forward now?
I think for now, I think what Jose provides is a little bit of the Swiss Army knife. He can be lengthened out, he can be shortened up. And so I think he provides Mendy and our roster construction as a whole with a number of different options. But yes, for the moment, I think he'll be in the bullpen going forward.
Tim?
After all the moves that you did make, is there anything that you wanted to accomplish at the deadline that you did not?
I don't think so. I think there are always players you pursue that you would have liked to acquire. There are always conversations you have that you try to steer in a particular direction. But we're happy with the work that went into this. We're happy with our process, and pleased that we were able to add some talent to the team.
After not adding a lefty reliever or an established lefty, you have a handful of them back there right now. But what is your take on that situation?
Yeah, I think we have as you said, 3 lefty relievers who we have confidence in our Major League pen right now. We also have some right-handed pitchers who are capable of getting left-handed hitters out, and we've got some of those guys coming back off of injury hopefully soon.
Tim?
Going back to Mike's question on the prices, do you think that's kind of a one-off this year because of the specific competitive dynamic in the league, or do you think it's more a logical conclusion of an expanded postseason? It will be like this year after year.
I think this is probably towards the extreme of what we're likely to see for a variety of factors. I think we got very understandably some big asks, and some teams stepped up and met those asks. I don't think we're likely to see a consistent trend at exactly this level going forward.
Dave?
Dave, you seem to come into the season with a plan and what you wanted to do. You know, you've talked about short-term and long-term, and I think when the team went on a run from June 1st, you guys have had the best record in baseball. Did that change, the view, and was there a temptation to think differently about the team when you saw it play as well as it did, or did you still try to keep, that short and long-term thing and not be kind of pulled into the temptation of maybe doing more or giving away more than you would have?
Well, I think the plan coming into the season was to compete and make the playoffs. Like that was the plan, and that remains the plan. And so I think where we are right now, doesn't really matter how we got here. We got to a place where we are a playoff caliber team. We believe we're a playoff caliber team. And we did what we thought was the right thing to do and adding to certain components of the team.
Abby?
You got a couple guys like Blackburn and Brazoban who have team control left. Was that something that you were specifically looking for, or was that just an added bonus?
No, I think that's part of some of the transactions we made, and it was desired to have some control over certain players, Blackburn, Brazoban, Tyler Zuber as well, who we acquired, who can help us not only this year but into the future.
Would you have given up any of the top prospects if there was something that had blown you away, or were you specifically looking to keep, I don't know, your top 20 guys or something like that?
Yeah, we don't take anyone off the table. Like there's not an organizational philosophy to just say we're not going to talk about anyone. I think that ties your hands a little bit. But clearly, we value some of our top prospects very highly. We think they're going to contribute here for a long time, and we were very mindful of that as we went through the process.
Will?
Hey, David, just to clarify on the question about the temptation to do other things. So you guys didn't explore opportunities to maybe move guys who are on expiring contracts or anything like that to fortify any holes? Was that at all on the table for you guys?
Not really. I think we got a ton of calls, and my philosophy is always to listen, but we certainly weren't making outgoing calls on that.
And just in the bullpen, just if you could explain just the motivation between those two guys in particular that you landed, and just I think the Marlins had used Brazoban as a multi-inning guy. Is that how you foresee his usage here?
Yeah, so I think that's a benefit, right, is that he can go multiple innings. He's got a pretty unique pitch mix. And so I think he can fit a variety of roles in our pen, and that can evolve as we get healthy in our pen as well. The fact that he has some roster flexibility as well is helpful as we get healthy and hopefully get back to full strength.
Disha?
Hey, David. Were you in on some of the frontline starters right up until the deadline, or did you pivot maybe earlier once you did notice that pretty aggressive pricing like you mentioned?
I think we try to stay involved in everything, and that's across the player universe to fully understand the market at all levels at all times.
Peter?
Hi, David. You mentioned receiving calls for some of the guys on your team. Was that more within the last week, or was that earlier in the season?
No, I think that's been constant. I think, and look, that's not unusual. We made plenty of calls ourselves to teams that were in adding positions who had players of desire that we thought could be good fits with us, and that's sort of part of all of us doing our jobs, checking in and trying to fully understand the players that could be available.
And then was there a certain point that or I guess at what point did you kind of realize that you guys were going to be buyers in this market?
It probably just built towards that as we continued to play better and climbed up the standings and got indications from our team that we believe we're a playoff caliber team.
Tim?
You didn't end up trading any of your top prospects, as you said. To what extent were other teams trying to get those guys from you?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, that's their jobs. Yes, every single one of our top prospects was asked about multiple times.
Yeah. And as those conversations progress, is it ever tempting, or was it easy? No, thank yous.
No, there are challenging decisions across all of these conversations, and we consider everything very seriously. And there is rarely a clear-cut decision on these things. We're always having dialogue and debate, and then ultimately try to make the best decision possible.
And will both of these relievers join the Major League roster?
Haven't decided that yet. We're still working through what our roster construction will look like. Yes.
Tim?
When you view your roster as playoff caliber, how much are you thinking about October and a short series when you're making moves in July?
It's certainly part of the dialogue. To be honest, it's easier to do that when you're perhaps where the Phillies are right now than where we are right now. I think teams that have a significant lead in their division can more concretely focus on what that October version of the team is going to look like. But it's a balance we're striking as well, and trying to set up our team for success not only during the remainder of the regular season, but also during the postseason.
Joe?
David, what did intrigue you about Tyler Zuber?
Yeah. This is an interesting story. This guy was pitching indie ball not too long ago. He's made some really fascinating, frankly, his pitch shapes have changed. He's made some usage adjustments. We think he's got the ability to get both sided hitters out. Again, he's got roster flexibility, which is something that is going to be important for us as we go through the next couple months with all the games we have, with the long road trips. He's got control left. So he's someone that, frankly, we've been talking with the Rays about for a couple of weeks, and we're able to line up today.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.